common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now is someone who has now been elevated to an even bigger position on the Trump campaign, Corey Lewandowski. He was Trump's 2016 campaign manager, really rode that enormously successful campaign, and now he has been elevated to an even bigger position back now. He's been sort of informally advising, but now elevated. Yep.
Never really left.
Never left, but now obviously in a much bigger role. Corey Lewandowski, welcome to Katz and Cosby. It's Rita, Judge Richard Weinberg, and also Ed Cox, and we're all excited to see you back in a big way on the campaign.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. You guys have been so good to me. You've been my friends and stuck by me when a lot of other people wouldn't, especially you, Rita. You've been so good to me. And Ed, we've been friends a long time. And so, listen, we got 80 days to go. And anybody who cares about the direction of this country has to get out and do something, because that's all we have. And I told the president that I'm willing to put my family on hold and all the things that I think are most dear to me for the next 80 days, because I am so fearful of what will happen if Kamala Harris is elected.
You know, Corey Lewandowski, we just were talking, as you may have heard, with John Solomon, and he brought up this guy across the border with 23 murders. He's a gang leader, busted in New York. And he talked about being, he believes, maybe part of the gotaways. This is like, the border issue is so enormous. Even the economy issue is so enormous. Crime is so enormous. And they almost couldn't be more stark in the way things have been handled and the way a Kamala Harris-Walz administration would handle it.
Rita, you know, you hear all the time, I don't like either of the candidates. You know, they're both the worst of the worst, et cetera. This election is very different. There can be no difference. There's no starker difference in their positions. Kamala Harris, the border czar, has advocated for and promoted open borders. Donald Trump has a history of closing the border and making sure that Americans are protected first. So whether it's an economic message, it is a homeland security message, it is a national security message. These two candidates have no positions which are similar at all, and Kamala Harris is now attempting to rewrite her positions that she took when she ran for president and to walk away from the positions she has advocated for while being the vice president of the United States. There is no clearer election in our lifetime. Sometimes the candidates are similar on certain issues. That is not the case here. Donald Trump has a clear vision of what we're going to do in this country for the next 4 years if he's reelected, and we're going to have economic prosperity. We're going to have a national security second to none. We're going to close our borders like every other civilized country does in this world. And we're going to make sure that our enemies around this world fear us and our allies respect us, because that's not happening anymore.
All right, Corey Lewandowski, let's go to Ed Cox.
Corey, you want to go to basic philosophy? We are for, Donald Trump is for equal opportunity. She has specifically said she is for equality of outcomes. That's communism.
But, Ed, that's what she has learned from Joe Biden. When Joe Biden said his only criteria to pick a Supreme Court nominee was that she was going to be a black woman, then that is for racism, Ed. You know, why can't we just pick the best person for every job? You know, this country was founded on the opportunity that everybody should be treated equal. White, poor, green, rich, it doesn't matter. You have an opportunity to succeed in this country if you're given a chance. And why is it that the only criteria that the Obama/Biden/Harris/Walz team thinks is important is either your race or your ethnicity? When did that become the determining factor if you were capable of doing something?
Yeah, great point. And as we're talking, we were just talking about the economy. Today, everything was going after business, as if business doesn't hire, millions of employees like there's some evil thing. They don't realize, doesn't anybody want to tell her sort of the trickle down effects? If you go after business, and many businesses right now are so tight on margins, the first thing they're going to do is start firing people.
Where do government revenues come from?
Well, here's the amazing part. She's never run a business, okay? She's been a public servant, so she's never had to meet payroll. Go talk to a business owner and think about the sweat equity that they have put in to create value. The nights that they had sleepless nights because they weren't sure if they were going to make payroll the next day, right? The anxiety and all of the sacrifices they make. Public employees don't understand that. Kamala Harris doesn't understand that. Donald Trump has signed the front of a paycheck to make sure that his employees are working and giving them good wages and opportunities. And look, I always say this, and I know people don't like it. Donald Trump is an equal opportunist. He hates everybody the same, and he loves everybody the same. And it doesn't matter what your race, religion, ethnicity, or creed is. He treats you the same. And I can say that as someone who's been part of this Trump world for almost a decade now, a long time. And I have heard story after story after story that will never be told by the media of the generosity of Donald Trump that he doesn't look to go and get credit for from people who will never want to tell their story. And Donald Trump did it because it was the right thing to do. Absolutely.
And by the way, also on military things, he has done so much for so many different groups through the years. I also want to hit on Corey Lewandowski, also the difference on fighting crime, because, boy, it couldn't be more, crystal clear. Trump is with law and order. You see all these sheriffs and today J.D. Vance standing, with all these law enforcement groups, standing for communities of all colors, races, creeds, religions. And then you've got Kamala Harris donating to the Minnesota Freedom Fund and Tim Walz and his wife romanticizing as the city is burning down.
Yeah, but are you surprised? This is their true colors. This is who they really are, right? They can try and remake their policies, but the reality is we know who these people are. We know that Tim Walz is an avowed socialist, basically. Look, this is a guy, according to the Wall Street Journal, who doesn't own a piece of property, doesn't own a stock or a bond, doesn't own a piece of Bitcoin, has no tangible assets, lives in public housing, and has no pension? I mean, that's kind of remarkable to me for a guy who's supposed to be the CEO of a state. And, Kamala Harris, what has she done in her career? She has had the opportunity to go and be the attorney general and a U.S. senator, and Joe Biden picked her because he pledged that he would pick an African-American woman. I mean, it's just, I want to hearken back to the days of Martin Luther King when they said, judge me on the content of my character and not the color of my skin. And so from an economic perspective, Donald Trump has led. From a security perspective, Donald Trump has led. And Kamala Harris now continues to hide from the mainstream media. She said on the 8th of this month that she would hope to be able to sit down for an interview by the end of the month. How is the media not up in arms? Because I believe, by and large, most of the mainstream media is in the tank for her. They have completely given her a pass in a honeymoon phase, and that's why we're seeing this rise in her poll numbers, because they won't cover her fairly.
Yeah, Corey, did you see, by the way, the only interview she's done so far, it was Tim Walz interviewing her. They talked about, what food they ate. I mean, it is incredible. It really is. And you're right, the media needs to step up and do its job and demand answers, because if she wants to be president of the United States, she shouldn't be dodging reporters' questions. There's so many serious, huge issues. Corey, we love you. Congrats that you're even a bigger role. Trump is lucky to have you, and we love having you here on the show.
Well, thank you, guys, and please have me back soon, and we'll just spread the gospel about how important the next 80 days is.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will have you back on soon, my friend. Thanks so much, Corey. Congrats.
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.